Yo, 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 it's your boy Kenny T with Kilo Tango Aviation. Thanks for joining me. And today we're going to talk about 5 ways for you to reduce the cost of getting your private pilot certificate. Flying is not cheap. And as we saw from our last video, it can cost anywhere from $9,000 to $15,000 to earn your private pilot certificate. I don't know about you, but I'd do anything I could to keep that cost as low as possible. The easiest way to reduce costs for your private pilot certificate is to reduce the number of hours that it takes to get your training complete. And some of these tips are going to show you how to do just that. Make flying a priority and fly as frequently and as much as you possibly can. The more frequently you fly, the easier it is for you to retain the things you've learned and reduce the amount of time that you spend repeating objectives or lessons. So flying is a priority and you can fly 5 to 6 times per week. You're going to be on track to complete your training within 2 months and close to 40 hours. If you have other commitments like school or other things like that, you need to fly 2 to 3 times per week to be on track. Tip number 2, spend 2 to 3 hours preparing for every lesson. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. On the ground is where you learn checklists, procedures, rules, regulations, and get familiar with your aircraft. Chair flying. Chair flying is sitting in the airplane or sitting on the ground at home, running through all the procedures so that you're familiar. The idea is to get as many reps running through procedures without running up your bill in the airplane. The principle of exercise states that things most often repeated are best remembered. Don't wait until you're in the airplane getting ready to fly on a lesson to try to get familiar with the airplane. It's too late at that point. In the air is the time where you practice and get proficient. Students who are consistently prepared each flight progress quicker through training as opposed to those who don't. Tip number 3. Come up with a plan, timeline, and a budget for your flight training. Don't underestimate your training cost. Figure out what your training costs are going to be and add 20% just for a buffer. Having to stop training because of money can create long breaks, which can cause you to have to retrain and spend even more money than you would otherwise. This is why having a solid money plan for your training is valuable, because having a plan is going to help you spend less money. Tip number 4, make sure you got a good pilot network in your corner while you're going through training. Get a mentor, someone who's already a pilot who can give you advice outside of your instructor. They can give you a different perspective in the areas that can help you progress through your training and avoid pitfalls. Make sure you have a wingman or wingwoman, someone else who's going through training the same time as you are, either at the same flight school you're in or at a different flight school, but someone who you can communicate with on a regular basis to talk about training, to talk about things that you're both learning at the same time. It gives you someone to bounce ideas off of that's at the same level as you are, and someone who you can study with. And going through training is way more fun when you're doing it with somebody else. Tip number 5, apply for aviation scholarships and join aviation organizations. Many aviation groups and organizations have a lot of options for flight training. Some can provide opportunities for low cost or free flight training. There are scholarships and money to help fund your private pilot certificate and beyond. Usually it just requires an application, an essay, and some letters of recommendation. Many organizations are there to help you out. I'll leave a link with a few of them in the comments below. There's our 5 tips to help keep your private pilot certificate costs low. Fly as often as possible, prep 2 to 3 hours before each flight, plan and budget your flight training, get the right people in your corner, that's your network, and apply for aviation scholarships. Let me know if any other tips that you have to help lower the cost of getting your private pilot certificate. It's Kenny Thomas, Kilo Tango. Thanks for joining me.